Bandeham Shigoro Shiyata Parakamlam Shigurun Vaishnavam Cha Shirupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shirana Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Vitam Cha Omagyana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shalakaya Chakshunu Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Nama Gorva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chentya Chentya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shirupa Patanugam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwaguruncha Divyad Bhagavat Premna Vibijapranam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavaranam Balarka Chelanshitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vanditam Shubharam Maneka Sharanam Nyashishwara Sridharam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Bradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, with translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Adi-lila, chapter 6, the glories of Sri Adwaita Acharya. So verse number 1. Mandetam Srimad Adwaita Acharya Madbhuta Cheshtitam Yasha Prasadad Agilpi Tatswarupam Nirupayat. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Adwaita Acharya, whose activities are all wonderful. By his mercy, even a foolish person can describe his characteristics. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Adwaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Sri Adwaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pancha Shloke Kohila Sri Nityananda Tattva Shloka Dvaye Kohi
Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj ki
Adwaita Acharya Mahatva Pancha Shloke Kohilo Sri Nityananda Tattva Shloke Dvaye Kohe Adwaita Acharya Mahatva. In 5 verses I have described the principle of Lord Nityananda. Then in the following 2 verses I describe the glories of Sri Adwaita Acharya. So as Srila Bhakti Raka Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj has commented, these verses are dealing with ontology, understanding who all the persons of the Leela of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who they are, and that will help you understand why, or understand something about how things are functioning during Mahaprabhu's Leela. Maha-Vishnu or Jagatkarta, Maya Yaya, Sri Jatiyaha, Tashavatara, Evayam, Adwaita Acharya, Ishvara. Lord Adwaita Acharya is incarnation of Maha-Vishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Advaitam Mahrinadvaitad, Acharyam Bhakti Samsanat, Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Adwaita Acharyam Ashraye. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. And because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. Therefore, I take shelter of him. So we could also say that we're understanding that Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and also Adwaita Acharya, they all belong to the category of, you could say, Vishnu Tattva. They're all the Supreme Lord themselves. But Srila Prabhupada elsewhere uses the term the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. Although they're the Supreme Lord themselves, during Mahaprabhu's Leela, Mahaprabhu himself, Nityananda Prabhu, Adwaita Acharya, they're the Lord, but they're showing the activities and mentality of a devotee. Therefore, he uses the term Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. They're showing that they're all, although the Lord is non-different from the Lord, is showing the mood that even the Lord himself desires to take the role of a devotee. Adwaita Acharya Gosai Sakarishwar Jahara Mahima Nahe Jivara Gochar. Sri Adwaita Acharya is indeed directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. His glory is beyond the conception of ordinary living entities or ordinary living beings. Adwaita Acharya is indeed directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. His glory is beyond the conception of ordinary living beings. Maha-Vishnu Shrishti Koran Jagad Adikarya Tara Avatara Sakat Adwaita Acharya. Maha-Vishnu performs all the functions for the creation of the universe. Sri Adwaita Acharya is his direct incarnation. Jai Parusha Shrishti Sthiti Korana Mayaya Ananta Brahmanda Shrishti Korana Lilaya. That Purusha creates and maintains with his external energy. He creates innumerable universes in his pastimes. So what we're going to hear is Adwaita Acharya, as the Lord, he supplies the ingredients of the creation, and he also supplies the creative energy which the Lord exerts. That the Lord, Maha-Vishnu casts his glance over the material energy, but he doesn't directly touch the material energy. So that glance comes out, and then that glance is personified as Shambhu, as Lord Shiva. And it's Lord Shiva who's in touch with the material creation. But we could say that Maha-Vishnu is casting his glance and he's injecting the living entities into the womb of the material nature by his glance. But he doesn't directly touch the material nature. And there's some kind of like something that will not, if you hear about it, it will sound like insanity in one sense. That the Lord is within everything, but at the same time, he's not within everything. So this is what's called Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. Simultaneously conceivable and inconceivable. So, but that can be understood. Like Srila Govinda Maharaj, his pranam mantra also says, Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam, that he understands what is conceivable and what is inconceivable. So all this happens, you can say, because who is Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but he's covered with the heart and halo, or the Bhavakanti of Srimati Radharani. And what is Srimati Radharani feeling? She's feeling separation from Krishna. But internally, he has her sentiments and he has her beauty, Mahaprabhu, but he's Krishna. So then what is the result? That Radharani always feels separation from Krishna, especially after he left Vrindavan. So Mahaprabhu is having her sentiments and he's feeling separation from Krishna, but he is Krishna. And so it's like a form of madness that Mahaprabhu feels separation from himself. How can you feel separation from yourself? So all these things are very inconceivable on a material level, but if you try to understand them through devotion, then you can understand. And that's why Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, if you can understand something about, as I use the word ontology, the intrinsic nature of the Lord and his activities, then you can understand why things are happening. And Krishnadas Kaviraj, who presented the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was able to explain and present everything. Now, before him was Vrindavan Das Thakur in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And there are so many, and that has Vrindavan Das Thakur. He's a devotee of Nityananda Prabhu, and therefore Nityananda, he's the Avadut. Nityananda is Avadut. So you see things in that way, then there's even a little more the mood of an Avadut, eccentric nature, which is coming through his devotees. But by the explanations of Krishnadas Kaviraj, we can understand Mahaprabhu's Leela and the position of Nityananda Prabhu and of Adwaita Acharya. Ichayananta Murti Korana Prakash Ek Murti Koran Brahmande Pravesh. That Purusha creates and maintains with his external energy. He creates innumerable universes in his pastimes. That's the previous verse. And now, by his will, he manifests himself in unlimited forms in which he enters each and every universe. So one example I remember that Prabhupada gave is to understand the simultaneous nature of the Lord is a rich man, by his energy, by his wealth, he can maintain many different factories, many different businesses, and all those are going on by his energy. But you wouldn't necessarily expect to find that rich man present in his individual businesses. He may be, and we're going to see Indians today. And some of them, they have multiple businesses. So if you're lucky, you might find them at one business, or they might show up after a while. But they're maintaining all those businesses. So by his will, he manifests himself, Adwaita Acharya, in unlimited forms in which he enters each and every universe. Se Purushamsha Adwaita Nahika Chubed, Sharira Visheshatara Nahika Biched. Sri Adwaita Acharya is a plenary part of that Purusha, and he is not different from him. He is plenary part of Maha-Vishnu. Indeed, Sri Adwaita Acharya is not separate, but is another form of that Purusha. Sahai Koranatara Loya Pradhan Koti Brahmanda Koran Ichaya Nirman. He, Adwaita Acharya, helps in the pastimes of the Purusha, with whose material energy and by whose will he creates innumerable universes. Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Gunadam Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Charanam. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Adwaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Sri Adwaita Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Maha-Vishnu, is an Acharya or teacher. All his activities and all the other activities of Vishnu are auspicious. Anyone who can view the all-auspiciousness in the pastimes of Lord Vishnu also becomes auspicious simultaneously. Therefore, since Lord Vishnu is the fountainhead of auspiciousness, anyone who is attracted by the devotional service of Lord Vishnu can render the greatest service to human society. Rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal, rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living being from conditioned life, become bereft of all devotional service because of their poor fund of knowledge. In the teachings of Adwaita Prabhu, there is a question of fruitive activities. In the teachings of Adwaita Prabhu, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of the material energy, however, whose dog is that? Oh, is that your dog?
Oh, that's my dog, yeah. Leon.
Okay. In the teachings of Adwaita Prabhu, what kind of dog is that?
A Yorkie?
Huh?
Yorkie?
Yorkie.
A what?
Yorkie.
Yoti. Oh, you're a Yoti? I never heard that.
A yogi.
A yoti or yogi. In the teachings of Adwaita Prabhu, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of the material energy, however, persons who could not understand that Adwaita Prabhu is non-different from Vishnu wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. The attempt of Adwaita Prabhu to punish them is all auspicious. Lord Vishnu in his activities can bestow all good fortune directly and indirectly. In other words, being favored by Lord Vishnu and being punished by Lord Vishnu are one and the same, because all the activities of Vishnu are absolute. According to some, Mangala was another name of Adwaita Prabhu. As the causal incarnation, or Lord Vishnu's incarnation for a particular occasion, he is the supply agent or ingredient in material nature. However, he is never to be considered material. All his activities are spiritual. Anyone who hears about and then glorifies him becomes glorified himself. For such activities, free one from all kinds of misfortune. One should not invest any material contamination or impersonalism in the Vishnu form. Everyone should try to understand the real identity of Lord Vishnu, for by such knowledge one can attain the highest stage of perfection. So anyway, that's the purport explaining something of the nature of Sri Adwaita Acharya. Koti Amsha, Koti Shakti, Koti Avatar, Etaloya Shriji Purusha Sakala Samsar. Maha-Vishnu creates the entire material world with millions of his parts, energies, and incarnations. So he's injecting all the jiva souls into the material nature. So sometimes we say Brahma is a creator, but better term for Lord Brahma would be like an engineer. He can create material forms, but the life energy, which is going to cause everything to happen and function, to move, that's all coming from the Lord himself. So Lord Brahma can create forms, and there are many, many forms in this material nature. But the living principle is injected into the material nature by the glance of Maha-Vishnu, who is non-different from Adwaita Acharya. Maya Jachi Dui Amsha Nimitta Upadan Maya Nimitta Hetu Upadana Pradhan Parusheshwaraiche Dui Murti Hoya Vishva Shrishti Kore Nimitta Upadana Loya. Just as the external energy consists of two parts, the vision cause, nimitta, and the material cause, upadan, Maya being the efficient cause and pradhan, the material cause, so Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, assumes two forms to create the material world with the efficient and material causes. So you can understand that one of the causes is to supply the ingredients, the constituents of the material nature, and then the other cause is to supply the energy which will cause everything to function. So we could say, let me go back one verse. Okay, so anyway, ingredients and then the impetus, or Apane Purusha Vishvara Nimitta Karan Advaita Rupe Upadan Hana Narayan. Lord Vishnu himself is the efficient nimitta cause of the material world, and Narayan in the form of Sri Adwaita is the material cause, Upadan. Nimittam Shekorite Ho Mayate Ikan Upadana Dvaita Koran Brahmanda Srijan. Lord Vishnu in his efficient aspect glances over the material energy, and Sri Adwaita as the material cause creates the material world. Jajapi Sankyamane Pradana Karan Jadahoite Kabunahe Jagat Srijan. Although the Sankhya philosophy accepts that the material ingredients are the cause, the creation of the world never arises from dead matter. What is material? All the material elements are there, but you can intuitively understand all those things. That was a phrase I used to hear when I was in school. They say it should be intuitive. It should be intuitively obvious to the most casual observer. It wasn't always so intuitively obvious, but that's the phrase they use. So, although the Sankhya philosophy accepts that the material ingredients are the cause, the creation of the world never arises from dead matter. So, you can see that and understand that because when a person dies, all the material, the constituents of the body are still there. But if you talk even to the most, to anybody, they'll say he's gone or she's gone. The person's no longer there. But what do you mean? There's this body, all the material. It's the same body you've been embracing and knowing your whole life. It appears everything's there. No, but he or she is gone. So that's not. So although the Sankhya philosophy accepts that the material ingredients are the cause, the creation of the world never arises from dead matter. Nija Shrishti Shakti Prabhu Sanchare Pradane Ishvadera Shakti Tabe Hoyeta Nirmane. The Lord infuses the material ingredients with His own creative potency. Then by the power of the Lord, creation takes place. Advaita Rupe Kore Shakti Sancharan Ateva Advaita Hoyen Mukhya Karan. In the form of Advaita, he infuses the material ingredients with creative energy. Therefore, Advaita is the original cause of creation. Advaita Acharya Kote Brahmandera Karta Ara Ek Morte Brahmandera Bharta. Sri Adwaita Acharya is the creator of millions and millions of universes, and by his expansions, as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he maintains each and every universe. So Maha-Vishnu casts his glance over the material world and injects the living in it. But we also know that, that Maha-Vishnu from his breathing is coming out so many universes, multiple universes. We can't understand practically anything about one universe, but multiple universes are coming out, and then by another expansion, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he's entering into each universe. Advaita Acharya is the creator of millions and millions of universes, and by his expansion as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he maintains each and every universe. Say Narayanera Mukhya Anga Dvaita Anga Shabde Amsha Kore Kohe Bhagavata. Sri Adwaita is the principal limb Anga of Narayan. Srimad Bhagavatam speaks of limb Anga as a plenary portion Amsha of the Lord. Sri Adwaita is the principal limb Anga of Narayan. Srimad Bhagavatam speaks of limb Anga as a plenary portion Amsha of the Lord. Narayanas Tvam Na'i Sarvadehinam Atmasi Adi Shakila Lokasakshi Narayanongam Narabhujalayanat Tatsyapi Satyam Nat Tavaiva Maya. O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not, therefore, my father, Narayan? Narayan refers to one whose abode is in the water, born from Nara, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and that Narayan is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. So you can, Actually, it is said that Mahaprabhu is the Chana avatar, which means he can't be understood very easily. Even Lord here, this verse, O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father, Narayan? Narayan refers to one whose abode is in the water born from Nara, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And that Narayan is your plenary portions. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. So who's speaking this? This is Lord Brahma. And this is during the Brahma Mohana Lila, when Lord Brahma, actually by his trick or his prank, he himself becomes illusion, because he sees Krishna. He sees Krishna as a cowherd boy, as a small boy. He's even caring. He sees that Krishna is playing with other children and running with his food, with sweets in his left hand. So then Lord Brahma decides to play a prank on Krishna. So he puts all of Krishna cowherd boys and the calves, who the cowherd boys are taken care of. He puts them in a state of yoga nidra, of like sleeping, and he puts them inside a cave, and then he covers the entrance to the cave. He covers with a rock, and they're all there in a state of yoga nidra. They're asleep. So then Brahma goes back to see the results of his trick. But when he goes back, he sees there's Krishna just like before, and all the cowherd boys and calves are with Krishna just like before. And then Lord Brahma becomes confused. I thought I put them all in the cave, and did they wake up? How'd they get out? And he goes back to the cave, and he takes the rock off the cave, and he looks inside, and they're all asleep. They're all asleep like before. And then he goes back, and he sees Krishna's activities with the calves and cowherd boys are going on just as they were before. So then he's watching, and he sees from the calves and cowherd boys comes a four-handed form of Vishnu. Then he's bewildered. Then he says, he then says, Narayanas tvam na sarvadehinam atmasi adi shakila loka sakshi narayanangam narabhub jalayanat tasyapi satyam natavaiva maya. O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father, Narayan? Because Lord Brahma is born from a lotus that grows from the navel of Narayan. And he says that to Krishna, who's appearing as a cowherd boy. Narayana refers to one whose abode is in the water, born from Nara, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So, and it's from that Garbhodakshai Vishnu's navel that Lord Brahma takes birth. And that Narayan is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and not creations of Maya. So Lord Brahma says that. He says that to Krishna. Well, Krishna is appearing as a cowherd boy. He says, what are you talking about? How can I be your father? I'm only an 8-year-old boy, and what about? And then Brahma. But this is also part of the point of the Mahaprabhu's Leela, that you're understanding who these persons are. Like Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna covered with the heart and halo is Srimati Radharani. And then his first expansion is Balaram. What day is Balaram Purnima? Is coming up soon.
Saturday.
Huh?
Saturday.
Saturday. So that's the Purnima. That's Lord Balaram's appearance, and then 8 days after that is Janmashtami, the 16th. So the first expansion of Krishna is Lord Balaram. That's Nityananda Prabhu. And then from from Nityananda, from Lord Balaram, then come further expansions of Shankarshan or Mahashankarshan. Then comes the Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva Shankarshan Pradyumna and Aniruddha, and then another expansion of 4 of Vasudeva Shankarshan Pradyumna and Aniruddha, and then come the Purusha avatars, Maha-Vishnu and also then Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Chirodakshai Vishnu, they come. And then we could say that's all coming from Krishna. And then they're all expansions which can be attributed to Balaram, which is also Nityananda Prabhu. And then we say that Maha-Vishnu is Adwaita Acharya. So it's you're understanding something, and then you may or may not be so bewildered by Mahaprabhu's Leela, because Nityananda Prabhu is called Avadut. Avadut means someone who doesn't behave according to the social norms of society. It would be one thing you could say about Avadut is, oh, he's very eccentric. But no, it's much more than that. It's just eccentric. It's someone who's functioning, if you understand how someone may be, someone who's completely self-realized may not function according to the norms of society. So people can't understand these things, and they don't understand how Leela works so much. Not that we do, but then also we can say that even in this world there are people who are, autistic. Autism. People who are autistic, they may be incredibly intelligent, but they may not function at all in this material world. And I've seen also many devotees, they have those inherent qualities. May or may not be autistic, but they also don't function according to the norms of society, and therefore, from our acharyas we've heard that, generally speaking, you might even say that one can't be completely normal or all there to function as a devotee. Devotees don't like the Lord. Because they're, dealing with another realm of consciousness. It's not the consciousness of material success. Ishvare anga amsha chirananda mohe mayara sambandhana hi e shloka koi. This verse describes that the limbs and plenary portions of the Lord are all spiritual. They have no relationship with the material energy. Amshana kahiya kene kahatare anga amsha hoite anga jate hoy antaranga. Why has Sri Adwaita been called a limb and not a part? The reason is that limb implies greater intimacy. Why has Sri, been called a limb and not a part? Ishvarangam Shachidananda Mayara Sambandhanahi E Shrokakoi. This verse describes that the limbs and plenary portions of the Lord are all spiritual. They have no relationship with the material energy. So that's Anga. Why has been Sri Adwaita been called a limb and not a part? The reason is that limb implies greater intimacy. And, then one can, just like we can talk about the trunk of a tree and the branches of the tree. The trunk is of, more major dimensions. The branches are further expansions of that, coming from that trunk. So also, Prabhupada used the term separated parts and parcels, meaning jiva souls. We understand Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Adwaita Acharya, they're not jiva souls, they're the Lord Himself. So they're not separated parts and parcels, but we can say they're also, expansions of the Lord. And the living entities are parts and parcel of the Lord, but not in the same way. They are called, he used the terminology, separated. Separated. We can say there's a difference between, Achintya Beta Beta Tattva, that there's simultaneously non-different from the Lord. We have the same qualities, Satchidananda, eternity, eternal, where our souls are eternal, Sat Chit, consciousness, and Ananda. In a state of in our pure state of existence, Ananda means happiness. But there's a difference between the infinite and the infinitesimal. We're small parts and parcels. The Shastra describes the jiva as the most small particle. And the Lord is not of that nature. The Lord is unlimited, infinite. So, why has Sri Adwaita been called a limb and not a part? The reason is that limb implies greater intimacy. Maha-Vishnu Ramsha Adwaita Gunadam Ishvare Abeda Te Adwaita Purushanam. Sri Adwaita, who is a reservoir of virtues, is the main limb of Maha-Vishnu. His full name is Adwaita, for he is identical in all respects with the Lord. Purve Jaiche Koila Sarva Vishvara Shrijan Avatare Koila Ebe Bhakti Pravartan. As he had formerly created all the universes, now he descended to introduce the path of bhakti. He had previously created all the universes, but now he's trying to give some purpose to the universes, to the creation, by introducing bhakti. Jiva Nishtari Krishna Bhakti Koridan Gita Bhagavate Koila Bhaktira Vyakyan. He delivered all living beings by offering the gift of Krishna Bhakti. He explained the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in the light of devotional service. Therefore he's called Acharya. Bhakti Upadesh Vinu Taranahi Karya Ateva Nama Hoila Advaita Acharya. Since he has no other occupation than to teach devotional service, his name is Advaita Acharya. So I may not read every word of it, all the purports, but I try to draw upon them what is the meaning. And a lot of the meaning will come by the continuum, or the continuation of hearing the verses one after another, because Krishnadas Kaviraj is explaining. Now Srila Prabhupada, he presented to Western audience, and they were unfamiliar with many conceptions, so he went into detail in his explanations. But Krishnadas Kaviraj is also giving an explanation by the continual development. And anyway, some persons say, well, you're not reading all the ports. We don't want to hear it. Okay. Whatever. Bhakti Upadesh Binu Taranahi Karya Ateva Nama Koila Advaita Acharya. But I do try to comment on the verses. Since he has no other occupation than to teach devotional service, his name is Advaita Acharya. So the Acharya is because he's a teacher. Vaishnavera Guru Teho Jagatera Arya Duinama Milare Hoila Advaita Acharya. He is the spiritual master of all devotees and is the most revered personality in the world. By a combination of these two names, his name is Adwaita Acharya. But he will not behave according to your stereotypes, because if you hear something about who he really is, then maybe you can begin to understand something of his activities. Otherwise, you'll be totally confused. Adwaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu and the Lila Mahaprabhu, they continually argue and even insult each other. So, but within that, there's always some understanding, and that's also giving something of, bhakti is not some dry topic. It's not something dry. I always feel like Chaitanya Charitamrita is like hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita. You're looking through a window, or more than that, and you're seeing into the spiritual world, the activities of Mahaprabhu and his devotees. Kamala Nayanera Deho Chatyanga Amsha Kamalaka Kori Dare Nama Avatamsha. Since he is a limb or part of the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord, he also bears the name Kamalaksha. Kamala is lotus. Kamalaksha is lotus-eyed. Since he is a limb or part of the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord, he also bears the name Kamalaksha. The Lord is known by that. Ishvara Sarupya Pai Purushada Gun. No. Ishvara Sarupya Paya Parishadagan Chaturbhuja Pitavash Jaichinaran. His associates have the same bodily features as the Lord. They all have 4 arms and are dressed in yellow garments like Narayan. Adwaita Acharya, Ishwarer, Amshavarya, Tara Tattvanama, Guna, Sakali Acharya. Sri Adwaita Acharya is the principal limb of the Supreme Lord. His truth names and attributes are all wonderful. Jahara tulasi jale, Jahara hunkare, Swaguna sahite Chaitanya avatari. He worshipped Krishna with tulsi leaves and water the Ganges, and called for him in a loud voice. Jahara tulasi jale, Jahara hunkare, Swagana sahite Chaitanya avatari. He worshipped Krishna with tulsi leaves and water the Ganges, and called for him in a loud voice. Thus Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on earth accompanied by his personal associates. So that Adwaita Acharya is said, credited to have called upon Mahaprabhu and to have also calling for him in a loud voice, but also worshipping with Ganga Jal, with Ganges water and tulasi. Jara Dwara Koila Prabhu Kirtana Prachar, Jara Dwara Koila Prabhu Jagat Nishtar. It is through him, Adwaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya spread the Sankirtan movement, and through him that he delivered the world. Acharya Gosaira Guna Mahima Par Jiva Kita Kataya Paibeka Tarapar. The glory and attributes of Adwaita Acharya are unlimited. How can the insignificant living entities fathom them? How can you could say the glories and attributes of Adwaita Acharya are unlimited. How can the insignificant living entities fathom them? How can the insignificant living entities understand the unlimited glories and activities of Adwaita Acharya. Acharya Gosai Chaitanyara Mukya Anga Ara Egg Angatara Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Adwaita Acharya is a principal limb of Lord Chaitanya. Another limb of the Lord is Nityananda Prabhu. So that the trunk of Mahaprabhu divides into two, or two main, then the one trunk becomes two, and they're both called like trunks of a tree. From that trunk divides in two. One is Nityananda, and the other is Adwaita Acharya. They're the two trunks, and then come so many other devotees, so many branches. Prabhur Upanga, Shiva Sari Bhaktagan, Hastamukya Netranga, Chakradi, Astrasam. The devotees headed by Srivas are his smaller limbs. They are like his hands, face, and eyes, and his disc and other weapons. Esab Loya Chaitanya, Prabhura Bihar, Esab Loya Koren. Esab Loya Chaitanya, Prabhura Bihar, Esab Loya Koren, Vanchita Prachar. With all of them, Lord Chaitanya performed his pastimes, and with them he spread his mission. Mahavendra Purir Iho Sishya Gyane Acharya Gosaire Prabhu Guru Kore Mane. Thinking he, Sri Adwaita Acharya, is a disciple of Sri Madhavendra Puri, Lord Chaitanya obeys him, respecting him as his spiritual master. So that's Adwaita Acharya. The Lord sends his different associates, some before him, some during his time, and some after him. So Adwaita Acharya appears before the Lord, and he is a disciple, becomes a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri is the spiritual master of Ishwara Puri, who's Mahaprabhu's spiritual master. So Mahaprabhu worships Adwaita Acharya as superior, as elder, you could say, with a mood of Vatsalya Ras, is a superior, is an older person. But Adwaita Acharya considers himself a servant of the Lord, so sometimes he resents or doesn't like to be shown that respect by Mahaprabhu. Lokika Lilate Dharma Maya Yadrakan Stuti Bhakti Korantara Charana Bandhan. To maintain the proper etiquette for the principles of religion, Lord Chaitanya bows down at the lotus feet of Sri Adwaita Acharya with reverential prayers and devotion. The Mahaprabhu shows him that respect. Chaitanya Gosai Ke Acharya Kore Prabhu Gyan Apanake Korantara Dashabhiman. Sri Adwaita Acharya, however, considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his master and thinks of himself as a servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Say Abhiman Suke Apana Pashare Krishnadas Hao Jive Upadesha Kore. He forgets himself in the joy of that conception and teaches all living entities. You are servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishnadas Abhimane Jayananda Sindhu Kote Brahma Sukha Nahe Tara Ek Bindu. The conception of servitude to Sri Krishna generates such an ocean of joy in the soul that even the joy of oneness with the Absolute, if multiplied 10 million times, could not compare to a drop of it. So we always say the idea of becoming one with the Lord, that's a very boring concept. Very boring. And it negates the whole quality of the joy which comes from devotional service. Why would anyone want to become one with the Lord? Puppy brain. Muije Chaitanya Das Saranityananda Das Baba Samanahe Anyatra Ananda. No insult there. Here, He says, Nityananda and I are servants of Lord Chaitanya. Nowhere else is there such joy as that which is tasted in this emotion of servitude. Parama prayase latmi hridaya vasati dehodasya sukhamage korea minati. The most beloved goddess of fortune resides on the chest of Sri Krishna, yet she too, earnestly praying, begs for the joy of service at his feet. Dashabhavi Anandita Parishad Gan Bidibhav Narada Arashuka Sanatan. All the associates of Lord Krishna, such as Brahma, Shiva, Narad, Sukha, and Sanatan Kumar, are very pleased in the sentiment of servitude. Yesterday was the disappearance of Rupa Goswami, of Gauridas Pandit, and of Ramai, who was a pujari here for so many years, who is called Ramai Archani Ketan, because of his servitude. All the associates of Lord Krishna, such as Brahma, Shiva, Narad, Sukha, and Sanatan Kumar, are very pleased in the sentiment of servitude. Nityananda Avaduta Savate Agala Chaitanya Radasha Preme Hoila Pagal. Sri Nityananda, the wandering mendicant, is the foremost of all the associates of Lord Chaitanya. He becomes mad in the ecstasy of servitude to Lord Chaitanya. Shiva Haridas Ramadasa Gadadhar Murari Makunda Chandrasekhar Brakeshwar Esab Pandita Lok Parama Mahatva Chaitanya Radashe Savai Koraye Unmata. Srivas, Haridas, Ramadas, Gadadhar, Murari, Makunda, Chandrasekhar, and Brakeshwar are all glorious and are all learned goers, but the sentiment of servitude to Lord Chaitanya makes them mad in ecstasy. E matagaya nache kore atahas loke upadeshe hao Chaitanya radas. Thus they dance, sing, and laugh like madmen, and they instruct everyone, just be loving servants of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Gosai more kore guru gyan tatapiya mora hoy dashabiman. Sri Adwaita Acharya thinks, Lord Chaitanya considers me his spiritual master, yet I feel myself to be only his servant. Krishna Primera Ek Apurva Prabhav Guru Sama Laguke Koraya Dashabab. Love for Sri Krishna has this one unique effect. It imbues superiors, equals, and inferiors with the spirit of service to Lord Krishna. So tomorrow I'll continue with this description. We want to be able to leave in a little while for our Janmashtami service. No.
Okay.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jarabaya Nama Jarabaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Gopala Dasava Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasha Raghuna Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jahoite Vignana Shamista Puran Jahoite Vignana Shamista Puran Jai Gosai Jamui Charanas Jai Gosai Dasamar Pada Renu Mora Panchagas Dasamar Pada Renu Mora Panchagas Sadar Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame Janame More Amilas Janame Janame Charmui Taraga Tasamar Pada Renu Mora Panchaga Tasamar Pada Renu Mora Panchaga Hare Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame Janame More Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Nehru Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajaka Acharya Astatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajaka Acharya Astatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Srila Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Prem Sago Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Acharya Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavad ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishwaparanya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Navadip Dham ki jai. Shri Ram Mayapur ki jai. Aparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Koladvip ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindia Mona Jo ki jai. Shri Purushottam Dham ki jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jo ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.
Shri Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.
So you can end this